Hey folks, how's it going? This is the Bald Metal Nerd coming at you with another video. And in this one, we're going to be talking about something that a lot of people are going through, right? Let's face it. And that's called living paycheck to paycheck. And I will link some articles below. And based on these articles, it's anywhere from like 50 to 70% of folks here in the US living paycheck to paycheck, including high income earners, right? We're going to talk about that here in a bit. But what is living paycheck to paycheck? Well, to me, it's pretty simple, right? Basically, what it means is you have to get every paycheck to stay afloat, right? It also means you have little to no savings. Like for me, when I was living paycheck to paycheck, and the majority of my adult life, that's how it was. If I had $500 in my bank account, I considered that good, right? So there you go. Now let's get on to, I'm going to talk a little bit about my history, some really big advantages I got, and how I finally got off, that treadmill. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to disclose that I did have some really big advantages in life that a lot of people don't get. Namely, the biggest one was I got some inheritance money from my grandparents, right, on my father's side. My biological father, who I didn't even really know. I total got $120,000 from it. Now it wasn't all at once. The first time I got inheritance money from them was in 2001. I would have been, I don't know, in my early 20s. I guess I would have been like 23. So what I did with that money at that time is despite me being that young, I knew that spending all of it would have been really stupid. I took that money and some of it I used to pay off debt, right? And I took, I don't know, 13 or 14,000, whatever I had left, and I made a down payment on my first home, right? And then that money gone. So even with that first infusion, I didn't consider, that didn't take me off the paycheck to paycheck treadmill. I was still there, right? Because I just traded living in an apartment to living in a house, which was a gigantic upgrade, obviously. But it didn't, make me like I was still paycheck to paycheck for sure, right? So there's that. And what happened after that, I was making, like somewhere between like $10 and $11 at that point an hour. So was my ex-wife, so we weren't exactly high income earners. And but managed to get through, pay my bills, yada, yada, yada. Then 2004 rolled around and I got a second infusion of inheritance money because my bio dad killed himself. Whatever, but I got 100 grand out of it. So, hey, good for me, right? So what did I do with that money? Truthfully, some of it, probably my biggest regret as far as that money goes, is I spent about $40,000 of it on vehicles, right? I got a vehicle for myself and for my ex-wife, you know, paid off some debt. And I still did have a pretty decent amount of money left, obviously, after all that. Unfortunately, in the divorce, my wife stole some of that money. But after I sold my first house because of my divorce and all this and all that, when I came out the other side of that divorce, I still had $40,000 or $50,000, in my savings. So clearly, for a period of from 2004 till 2008, I was not living paycheck to paycheck, not even close. So I had a bit of a break. And then in 2008, I bought this home that I'm in right now. And so what did I do? I took the money that I had left, and of course, down payment for this house, much bigger down payment that time, right? And essentially, that allowed me to afford this home very easily because my mortgage, really, since I've been here, has been about $800 a month. I recently refinanced from a 30-year down to a 20-year, which is great. And I'm on an extremely low interest rate right now because I refinanced back when rates were around 2%. And that's about what my mortgage is right now. And it's fantastic. So my mortgage is very low, but that's not how I got off the paycheck to paycheck bandwagon. That's just me being fortunate, right? And good timing. So basically, the only way I got off the paycheck to paycheck bandwagon wasn't really my career. Now, I did start to, do my skilled trade, which is IT, in around 2006, 2007. And at the time, I made a whopping 32 grand a year, which is about $45,000 today, according to the inflation calculator, which is not very much, right? And I did that crappy job for some years because I wanted to get my skills up so I knew I could get a better job. So, because even at the time, I knew that was a really bad deal because I wasn't just like a service desk or help desk person. I was in charge of an entire company's IT infrastructure, and I was paid that poorly. But I stuck it out because, well, I didn't have a choice. In 2008, the financial crash happened, and I started looking for another job. It took me 2 years to find another job, but I finally did. Got out of there, started making about 45 grand a year, which was a lot more, but it wasn't enough of a bump to really take me off the paycheck to paycheck bandwagon because, uh, you know, debt had to get paid off, yada yada yada. Some other expenses came in. Things happen, right? For lack of a better term, there's no other way to put it. So, I never got off that bandwagon until it started. I started to see light at the end of the tunnel when I actually got laid off from that job making 45 grand a year in 2016. My income started to go up pretty significantly at that point. I got a job right afterwards making, $55,000 a year. And then unfortunately that job ended because it was only a contract position. So I was right back down to that 45K mark again, or maybe it was as low as 40. It was just not great. Then I got another job. And then after that, I went up to 60, which obviously was a huge jump. But even when I was working that job, though I was making about 60K a year. I had accumulated a fair amount of debt that had to be paid off, right? So you already see where I'm going with this, right? I would get higher income, but I would have to pay off debt, right? So basically, I would just get into the cycle of debt, higher income, paying off debt, lower income, you get the idea, right? And I really didn't manage to break that cycle until 2020, ironically, when I got laid off from yet another low-paying job. I got laid off from a low pay, in 2020, I was making 45K again, and I got laid off in April of that year during the pandemic, and I was collecting unemployment as well as the enhanced unemployment benefits. So essentially what I was collecting is I was getting $400 a week in, quote, regular unemployment plus the $600 on top of that. So I was netting around close to $1,000 a week, which for me, absolutely fantastic. So what did I do? Well, clearly I paid my bills, I paid off debt, and I squirreled the rest of the money away, right? I just hoarded it as much as I could. And I collected it for almost the entire, basically 3 months, right? I basically maximized more or less what I could have collected. And by the time that was done, I had around $10,000, maybe it was 12 or 13 in my savings account. So it was quite a bit of money that I managed to save because of that. So honestly, that's when I got off the paycheck to paycheck bandwagon because unfortunately the job I got was low paying again, 45K. Not great. But since I had that money in my bank account, I didn't go paycheck to paycheck again, clearly. And while I had that low paying job, I didn't really accumulate any new debt. I was smart with my money. I didn't spend very much. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that if you live paycheck to paycheck, don't spend any money because you're human, you're going to do it. I mean, you can look around. Yes, I know it's a junk pile right now. That's due to the project I'm working on. But I haven't denied myself a lot of material things. No, I don't buy everything I want because, come on, I can't afford to. And even if I could, I wouldn't have the space for everything. Uh, So even with that, it's not like I didn't go into debt to accumulate the stuff that I like. I would never do that. The stuff I would go into debt for were unfortunately necessary things like I need a big car repair, tires, something like a furnace breaks, hot water heater, things like that. Things that were actually what I considered to be necessities. That's the kind of stuff I would actually go into debt for, not transformers or hi-fi, none of that stuff, right? That stuff always was just I could always afford that um, if I budgeted my money right. So anyway, that's how I got out of it. Now, after I got, after I got my current job, I'm doing really well. It's actually the highest amount of money I've ever made. I'm finally making what I think I'm actually worth at this point. Because my base salary is around 66 a year. But with overtime, I'm getting about $80,000 a year, which is obviously a huge jump up from where I've been. So and I've been at this job for a year and a couple of months now. So what have I managed to accomplish in a year and a couple of months at this higher income level? Well, quite a bit actually. My savings has grown. I have right now around $25,000 in savings. Um, the other thing that I do with my money that I think is wise anyway is I pay a lot of extra money. Oh, I made an $8,000 down payment on a new car, a Toyota Corolla, by the way. And we're gonna talk about higher income people and how I feel they're misguided. Um, and I essentially I also throw a good amount extra every month. I pay extra principal on my mortgage and on my car. I've only had my car a little more than a year, and I've paid off half of I borrowed around 11,000. What my down payment didn't cover, I've paid off half of that already. In another year, the car will be completely paid for at the rate that I'm going. My house will be paid for at the rate that I'm going. Maybe in another 5 or 6 years. I don't know. We'll see. That's I have a pretty ambitious goal, but I don't think it's completely out of the realm of possibility. So that's essentially what I'm doing with this newfound income. Now, I'm not denying myself either, right? As you guys are aware, if you're watching my channel, I've started to finish my basement, right? And I've even said in this, I have $10,000 to $15,000 to spend. No big deal. And basically, the reason I'm able to do this, of course, now is because of the higher income, right? This has allowed me to basically have that security, right? And what I have not done is I have not allowed lifestyle creep to screw me over. And that's where I think a lot of people who are making like, 200,000, 300,000, there are articles about people who are making like $200,000 or $300,000, which is what I make is small potatoes compared to that. And they're like, oh, we're struggling. We're paycheck to paycheck. We're this, that, and the other. Yeah, if you didn't drive a Mercedes and own, $750,000 home, maybe you wouldn't be in the situation that you're in, right? A lot of that, when you're at that income level, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, that's completely self-inflicted. That's not really the system working against you. That is you honestly being foolish with your money and just allowing lifestyle creep to, to spend big, right? Like I said, that's why I bought a freaking Toyota Corolla. I would, with my credit, it's over 800. I could have been in my income. I could have been approved for a Mercedes. Clearly, I'm not gonna buy a car that's that expensive because I think personally, I would feel that was a colossal waste of money. Everybody has their own opinion. That's just my opinion on that. I'd rather have a whole bunch of savings and be able to pay down my mortgage and do things like finish my basement than to drive a fancy car. Call me crazy, but that's just me. So that's basically it. It's just the only way to get out of check to check, in my estimation, unfortunately, is it's a combination of basically finding something that you're good at, that you're skilled at, that's valuable to the marketplace in some way or another, right? In addition to my job, I still do a side business, and I'm not cheap in my side business. If I go to somebody's home I charge them $75 an hour, right? Plus, I charge $1 a mile to and from, from my house to wherever they are, right? So, and it's amazing the number of people that pay me to do simple things, just like going to their house and like hooking up a computer or signing up for some accounts or whatever. It's crazy, but hey, it is what it is, right? If they're willing to pay it, hey, I'm willing to take it. It's that simple. So, for those of you out there who are struggling with check to check, I feel you. I really, really do. Even though I'm not there anymore, I feel the struggle because I was there for an extremely long time. The vast majority of my adult life, I was there. But if you work really hard at something, right? Some sort of thing that you can be skilled at that's valuable, you can get out, you can get off the check to check treadmill. It is possible. It's difficult, but it's possible. So anyway, I hope you guys liked this, got something out of it. As always, live long and prosper. Keep on rocking. I'll see you guys.